Hi, this is Kirk Bennett with IHOPU in Kansas City. And I want to tell a couple stories, a couple testimonies from my life and meditation. I stumbled onto meditation scripture, and over the last 23, 24 years, I have found that this is actually the way God has given us to approach the Bible. We typically are approaching the Bible for interpretation of passages to use in our life, but I have found the doorway into dialogue. And one of the first experiences that I had that just blew the roof off for me was my senior leader, Mike Bickle, had shared a dream that he had had about Isaiah 62 and the word Hephzibah, my delight is in her. And it was quite a profound dream, but for some reason it didn't hit me. I didn't get it. And so I decided, because I was practicing this little meditation process, that I would simply go in to the prayer room and meditate on Hephzibah, my delight is in her. And I began just repeating that phrase over and over again for a couple of minutes. And as I did, something amazing happened. I seldom have had this happen, but I was saying, Hephzibah, my delight is in her. Hephzibah, my delight is in her, over and over again. And I would sing it some, Hephzibah, my delight is in her. And I didn't pick up anything. So I kept doing it. Just by faith, I'm going to do this because I want the meaningful part of this to hit my heart. And it was about 20 minutes of repeating that phrase over and over again and just waiting that I heard a voice in my right ear say, my delight is you. It was so clear and so loud, I was sure it was audible. I turned to see who was talking to me, and there was no one there. And I just began to weep. And I said, say that again. And I said, Hephzibah. And I heard a second time, you are the delight in my heart. Well, I tell you, it changed everything. I had my Bible like this with this phrase, and I was weeping over and over again. And every time I would say it, I would feel this pleasure of God run through me. I hid my face in my Bible because I didn't want anyone coming to pray for me, because usually when they come to pray for you, they don't have anything to give you. They just want what you got. And I didn't want to share with anybody. I was hiding my face. I'm not afraid to pray in a prayer room. I just don't want people to come pray for me if I'm experiencing God. And so I'm hiding my face. I don't want to share with anybody. And the tears stain the page. That day, I said to God, God, if this is what you mean by meditation, I'll do this the rest of my life. What's interesting is that phrase had hit Mike Bickle in a very similar way. Over and over again, had washed through him as the presence of the Lord. And he has amazing teachings on that passage. My son Isaac heard that story from me, and one day he swiped my Bible, went into the prayer room, opened to the same page where my tear stains were, and he had the exact same thing happen to him. And the Lord began to speak to him about being the delight of his heart. And he wept, and his tears landed on my tears. On the very same Bible, actually. So that was one meditation of change, but I can tell you now, some more subtle, some more profound have happened to me over and over again. I teach this, and I get to teach it in nations. I've had pastors come to me and say, oh, I wished I had done this sooner. I was taught this. I've had leaders and people, one lady, she was 88 years old, and she came up to me. She was actually the mother of the pastor and had led her son, who is now older, to the Lord. And she came up to me after I taught this, and she had this stern look on her face. I was a little afraid. She said, I have a question for you. I'm like, uh-oh. She said, why was I never taught this? She said, I've been a Christian for 80 years. And why did no one tell me this? She said, I'm really upset right now. I said, I don't know, don't hit me. She said, no, it's good, but I could have been doing this for 80 years if someone had taught me this when I had just gotten saved. I want to tell you, start your journey in this. One pastor years ago when I began teaching this. He came to me and he said, he said, I was dead in my pulpit. And you came and taught my whole church this. And he said, I'm on fire again. I'm alive. I'm speaking the word with confidence because I'm having encounters with God in the scripture. In conclusion, I have many people ask me, what verse do I pick? And honestly, doing this so long, the whole book is anointed. You can pick any verse. You can pick a genealogy and get in an interaction with God. It's so unusual if you're willing to just press through what you feel like is boredom. Pick any verse. But a couple that I've used over and over again is Psalm 45, verse 1. My heart is overflowing with a good theme as I recite my composition to the King. My tongue is a pen of a ready writer. Or John 17:24, this where he says, Father, I desire that the ones whom you've given me may be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory, because you loved me before the foundation of the earth. The book is full of profound phrases. And that one verse, John 17:24, has like 5-6 different phrases in it that you can take hours in just repeating that phrase and taking notes and drawing pictures and writing questions and find you're in a conversation with God. Real simply, how do I know I did it well? Well, that's not hard to figure out when you had this profound encounter with God. But how do I know I'm getting somewhere? Simply put, when you have moments where the truth hits your heart or your emotions, the truth of the word hits your emotions in a moment of time, you're in the beginning of an encounter. I like to say it this way as well. Truth hits more than one of your senses. And I'm talking about your spiritual senses just like your physical senses. When you see something and hear something, when a picture comes to your mind and you hear words, you're in the beginnings of an encounter. So as you're repeating and saying and writing questions, when that divergent, not that divergence, but that coming together of two experiences at one time, you're in the midst of encounter. Stay there and keep going. When you've had an encounter, you can return back to that encounter. Open that same verse up the next day and start meditating in that verse. Encounters are what meditation is all about. And if you tie together a bunch of encounters over a series of times, whether they're related in content or not, you will find yourself being transformed. The purpose of the Bible is not merely to get smarter, it's to get closer. Closeness is gauged by encounters and that transformation process. So I want to encourage you to go after it. Get that encounter transformation process awakened in your life. I'm never going back. This is how I disciple people now. This is how I do my daily interaction with the Lord in the scripture. There might be seasons where I read the whole Bible through or a whole book through or a whole chapter through, but most of my daily interaction in the scripture is meditation, getting into the conversation with God. It's more important to God that I'm closer than that I'm smarter. And I've been approaching the Bible for years to get smarter. Now I only want to get closer to this man. Why don't you join me in this? Get into this. Do it daily. God told Joshua, you can do this day and night. Dive in, grab one piece and meditate over and over again. You'll see the glory of God.